So yesterday, I went and got my industrial piercing done by an awesome guy named Ed at Infinite Tattoo here on Oahu. Just in case you don't know, that's in Hawaii. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and do a soak here. Just stick my ear in there for 7 to 9 minutes, or 7 to 10, 7 to 8, whatever. Ed and I did not talk about doing sea salt soaks, but with other piercings that I've had, I do sea salt soaks, at least on my septum I did, and it really worked out very well. I wish I'd done it on my belly button ring when I had that piercing done, and I think it would have healed a whole heck of a lot better. Anyway, it worked so well on the septum. The septum was healed within like half of the time that it should have been. It should have been several months, but really it only took like 3, and that was surprising. So yeah, this is so weird to be laying here on the floor. I thought I would go ahead and make my own video about how to, I don't know, what it's like to get an industrial piercing. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right away that I am no stranger to pain. I have 3 kids, and so I know what it's like to be in severe pain, and I also know what it's like just to be in like minor pain, also discomfort. Anyway, so with the industrial piercing, if you don't know already, if you're a stranger to a piercing shop or a tattoo shop, you should know that you need to call ahead of time. They really appreciate that, as you can't just walk in and expect to get really good work done, because either your tattoo artist will be in a rush, or they just don't have time for you and they won't be able to schedule it on the same day. So it makes a lot of sense to not just go on the fly for tattoos in particular. Piercings, however, sometimes they can squeeze you in. I would still say that it's rare if it's a good tattoo shop or piercing shop. Usually they can't squeeze you in. And that's actually a good sign, because it means that they're busy, that they're booked, that they're keeping their appointments, that they're staying on time and on top of things. So if you find one, and I always listen to the sound of their voice over the phone. I know that might be, you're like, oh, that can't actually be a good sign for, how reputable they are, but it is how they present themselves over the phone when you first talk to them as a potential client has a lot to do with their professionalism. And if they're good at what they do and they care about what they do, then they're going to present good face, ahead of time, even before they meet you over the phone. Anyway, so I guess that's number 1. Make sure that you choose somebody that's reputable. Do your research online. Don't just go into any shop and be like, I'm going to get it done. Oh my gosh, in a rush, I know we sometimes do that. But if you want a successful piercing, in this case, or a tattoo, then you should do your research and make sure that you find someone that's highly rated. 5 stars, 4.5 is okay, but usually I don't go any lower than that. Read the reviews from other customers that have gone there. They're super helpful. I love Google for that reason. Moving on to the actual piercing itself. One of the biggest questions is, how painful is it? Okay, so I did a lot of research on the industrial piercing before getting it. I've wanted it since I was 11, and I started researching it about a year ago, maybe a little less, I was trying to decide if it was something that I actually wanted to do. Because, I don't know, I take my body piercings and tattoos pretty seriously. I got to make sure it's something that I actually want, because I don't want something that is permanent or even semi-permanent on my body. Anyway, so the pain level for this one, many people said it's a 10. It's one of the most painful piercings that they have ever had. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, this is going to be so painful, but I want the industrial piercing bad enough that I'm willing to go through the pain of it. And it can't be any worse than childbirth, even though I'm going to rate it up there. That way I psych myself out to think that it's going to be worse. And then when he actually puts the needle through my ear, twice, because there are 2 holes with the industrial piercing, I'll be all right. So They say it would be a 10, but for me it was a 3 or 4. Now, I'll let you know ahead of time as well that it really depends on who you're working with. I've seen several videos of people on YouTube piercing people's ears for this particular jewelry, for this industrial barbell to go through. And some people were actually jiggling the ear as they're putting the needle through, trying to, like, I don't know, I guess wiggle the jewelry in or wiggle the needle through. That is not a good thing. So if you see that, like, I don't know, to me it looked really painful. I can't imagine that being a good thing. If you see that and they're like, oh, this is a good piercing, good piercing job, I wouldn't believe them, you know. You judge for yourself. Use your common sense that tells you whether or not, you know, this is something or someone that you want to go to. The level for me was a 3 or 4. I had a very good piercer though. And he uses a hollow needle that's beveled. So all before yesterday, I thought that a hollow needle meant that they gouge out a piece of your tissue, and that's what creates the hole for your piercing. But sorry, it's uncomfortable here on the floor, and that's kind of gross. Sorry. Anyway, but what I found out yesterday about the needle, now I'm wondering if did I use up all the water? Okay. There we go. Some of the water is leaking out of the back of the cup, and so I was worried that it wasn't covering the piercing anymore, and that would be bad because we want it to get all of that salinity in there. Okay, so he uses a hollow beveled needle. So the needle itself is hollow, but it doesn't take a piece of your flesh into it to create the hole. Instead, what it does is it makes the hole because it's a needle, of course it's sharp, and then because it's beveled, it starts out small and then it gets larger, and that is what creates the hole. So it's like they pierce you, and then by pushing the needle through, they make the hole bigger. So they kind of stretch it out to the gauge that you want it to be, which in this case for an industrial piercing, the standard is a 14 gauge. In most cases, for most piercings, standard is 14 gauge. Anyway, so the fact that he told me that, I was like, oh, I've never actually heard that from a piercer, you know, and I thought, that's kind of interesting. And it made me feel more comfortable because he knew what he was talking about. And I don't know, I'm sure a beveled needle is not all that big of a deal, but knowing what your equipment is actually doing is a big deal. You know, you should know your equipment if you're a piercer. I went to a different piercer for my septum and my marley, which if you don't know what a marley is, it's underneath your tongue. So mine is kind of gross right now, but that's what it looks like. And my septum's actually like flipped up into my nose, so you can't see it. But I don't think that piercer was nearly as experienced. Like, she didn't really tell me as much, and I don't mean to give her like bad reps. I'm not going to give her a name. I'm not going to tell you who did it because, you know, I don't want to do that. But just, you know your piercer, know who it is ahead of time. However, the person that first did the marley, I've had it pierced twice. Excuse me. The person that first did the marley was very, very good. And his name is Gentry. And I really like him. He is based in Utah, but I'm in Hawaii now, and so I don't have access to him anymore, but I also like him. He's very, very good. Very gentle. Sometimes you want to go with a male piercer or a male tattoo artist if you're a female. I know it can be sometimes uncomfortable because they're a different sex, you know, and you feel like, oh, they might be judging you. Or might be, you know, if you're getting a tattoo or piercing in a personal place, you might think they're looking at your stuff. But really, I'm pretty sure they've seen tons of it, and you don't need to worry about it all that much. I would go with a male in general because they are more gentle than the females are. And not for tattoos though, they're harder handed generally, which is a kind of, I think, is a good thing. They're also more definitive with the lines, you know. Now, I'm not absolutely sure. I've never had a female tattoo artist, you know, but like from what I've seen of other people's tattoos, and if it's a guy or a girl that did it, you know, it's a guy, and they say like, oh, they're heavy-handed, you know, and heavy-handed hurts a lot more, but I feel like the ink stays better. But, you know, I don't know. Maybe that's not true, but that's just my thought in that case. So don't take that like as actual fact. The rest of the stuff that I'm telling you though is legitimate. That's just my opinion as far as males go. But as far as piercers, I've had female and male piercers, and the males do a much better job. So go with a guy if you're a woman. Okay, what else? Yeah, so the pain level was a 3 or 4, and really the first hole, he goes from the bottom to the top. So like the back part of the piercing, the back of the ear, that hurt less. It was about a 2. Really, it wasn't that bad at all. And it made like a little bit of sound, like a little bit of a crunch, but it wasn't all that noticeable whatsoever. And I was like, oh, okay, that's not too bad. You know, I was expecting this really grody crunch, like as if I was getting my daith pierced. If you don't know what a daith is, look it up. And then he went through the front of my ear, though, that hurt a lot more. Not a lot, but it was definitely like a 4. Like, I kind of like rolled my eyes like I kind of do. I was like, oh my gosh, that hurts, you know? But that wasn't too bad either. It definitely was not a 10. What he does is he says, I want you to breathe in and out with me. We're going to do a little yoga, a little zen, you know, here in this moment, to help us get on the same plane as far as mentality. And, you know, some people are like, oh my gosh, I don't want all your voodoo yoga junk. Okay, well, you may not like all the voodoo and the yoga junk, but you can at least appreciate the breathing in and breathing out and being in sync with the person that is going to be piercing you, because they can kind of gauge how you're feeling more so when they look into your eyes, which is what he did. So basically, you stand in front of each other, and he just shows you how to breathe, and then you follow his breathing after he shows you how to do it, and then he tells you to continue to breathe the way that he has told you. And so what he had me do specifically for the breathing is that you breathe in, and then you hold it, and then you breathe out nice and slow. And you just do it over and over again. And he says he's not going to tell you exactly when he's going to pierce. And I think that's good, because it means that you don't have that extra anxiety, you know, kind of over you. But he'll pierce when he feels that you're ready and when he's ready. And I was like, that's comforting, you know. It's both of you that need to be ready in order for this to be a good and successful piercing. Now, with all that said, you know, you might feel that this is like way too much preparation for a piercing. Oh my gosh, it's just a piercing. Well, we're all human, and when it comes down to it, piercings hurt. So it's a good idea to prepare yourself to be well researched and to help yourself to really relax when it comes down to the nitty gritty. That way you're ready, and you know that you are, and there's no doubts about it. That's a good thing. So he has you do that, and you continue to do that through the entire process. He pierces with 2 different needles so that there's no bacteria transferring from one piercing to the other. Once again, with the industrial piercing, there are 2 holes because there's a bar that goes through 2 parts of your ear. So, of course, there needs to be 2 holes. And those 2 holes are connected by that bar, of course. And then there's a little ball that goes on either end of the industrial bar. I'm not sure if laying on it like this is a good idea, just because there's pressure there around my ear, even though it's not pressure on the actual piercing. So maybe next time I'll do it where I kind of don't actually like lay on it, even though I'm supporting myself, and kind of just trying to put my you're into the water, that's kind of, I don't know, not great. Anyway, so my name is Kayena. Lots of people can't say it, so most people just call me Kai, but Kayena, and I am signing off here with my industrial piercing. This movie has been going on for 15 minutes, so I'm pretty sure it's safe to take that out. That's what the industrial piercing looks like. I'm in love with it. I am so happy that I actually got it done. Make sure you go to a good piercer if you decide to get it done, okay? I am not an oldie fogey, but I'm definitely a tired mom. And with that, I would say that I'm not one of those young people out there that if you're getting them piercings done, you know, I used to be. But I'm not that anymore. And so I think that sometimes it helps to take the words of somebody that's just a little bit older and has experience in life. Not that younger people than me, you know, I'm still a millennial, but not that people that are younger than me don't have, you know, the same kind of stuff, because there's tons of smart people. It doesn't really matter your age, but the level of experience that you have with something sometimes does come with age. In my case, it did. With other people, you know, whatever. Not going to be judgmental there. Anyway, I wish you all the best. Happy piercing and choose wisely. All right. Signing off. Bye.